really flowing really nicely. So like you did something people don't do. You invested in yourself, and then you tried, and you didn't just rest on your laurels. The fact that I got this and now I can just chill. Then you tried to advance and better yourself. I think that's the thing that sets you apart and sets really people that are great at what they do apart from others that are just doing. And then the willingness, right? I hire people when I talk to people. I say I hire you on three things: understanding, will, and competency. Do you understand what the job is? Do you understand what you have to do? The job description. Okay, cool. Do you have the will to do it? And not just the will to do it, but the will to do it and consistently get better. Because I also believe if you're either moving up or you're moving out, one or the other. And then competency. You may want to do this. You may understand what you have to do, but you may not have the competency to do this. Look, there's probably something good for people, but it may not necessarily be this for you. So let's find out what it is and let's work with you. But you have to have the competency for the job, right? And those three things, I think your willingness to do it, which for a lot of us in management, you have to be willing to be a manager. People don't want to be restaurant managers. They understand that stress level, right? This is an interesting fact or stat. I'll say this. On a lot of polls on the most stressful jobs in America, hospitality, retail management is like in the top 10 almost every time.
Man, it's wild how much like people pay to eat out and enjoy that experience. But then it's like, man, y'all don't know what goes on the back end. Like, we get here 2-3 hours beforehand for you to have this salad and that glass of wine to make sure the pairing's good. It's such a weird experience working in restaurants because it's I don't want to say our job isn't important, but we have we have a great heartbeat on what society feels and thinks, because when people don't want to go out to eat, that's not you can tell people don't have disposable income. I mean, nobody makes money. Nobody's making money. The economy's not doing well if restaurants aren't doing well. And restaurants employ a good percentage of people who just have, live day to day, and it's interesting how restaurants work in the environment, how people come in there and they see, this food or this idea, something like they connect with. Food is such a connective thing, food and beverage, you can walk into a restaurant like, man, it smells like my grandma's house. And you just you go transport back to a little kid. You're like, man, I want to eat this food. It's cool how food and beverage can take you back to those places where, like, man, I remember exactly where I was when I was doing this and what I was feeling. And that's cool, to be able to control those environments and control that experience. People I want to come back and get this again and again and again.
Yeah, it's good to have your finger on the pulse there, right? Like you're the DJ, you make this music go. Like you're the guy that presses the button and then the music comes on to set the atmosphere and the tone. You're the guy that sets the tempo for, the pace that the servers and the hosts and everybody's moving about with a sense of urgency. You're the guy that gets the kitchen going and gets them set up. And then you hear that symphony of forks on plates and glasses clinking. It's really a beautiful thing once you hear it all together. And then that mid to low level chatter of people just having conversations here and there. And it's this soothing sound. And it's really, really cool it's cool to be a part of, but people don't understand. It's really cool to be the guy with the bird's eye view that's watching the dining room floor, that's watching the expo line, that's watching the host stand, that's watching the bartenders, that's hearing the kitchen. And you're like, then that sizzle from the grill in the middle of all of it. It's like the hi-hats. It's a really cool mix of making a track. I used to do music, so putting all those pieces together like a wave track, different wave tracks.
Yeah, and what's cool about it is when you take someone who's not in restaurants and they go, it's loud in here. You're like, nah, it's running pretty smooth, man. You hear nah, it's running pretty smooth. They got it down pretty good. It's funny. People it's so loud. It's like, nah, you don't hear everyone's having a good time. You can see it, you can feel it, and it's like, oh, you don't work in restaurants. You don't understand the tempo and the beat of it, and the rhythm. And that's funny when it's you take someone out you're not stuffy. I'm like, nah, it's hot because people talking, having a good time. I don't mind it. It's just part of working, and what I'm saying. I enjoy it. I like to go out to eat and to see the tempo and the cadence and feel that rhythm.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Hey, well, look, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time you're watching this or streaming this. Welcome to Monday Meditations with Wine. I'm Chuck Nix, the bearded wino. I'm here with my main man, Joe Stinchcomb. One time for you, Joe, because you accomplish amazing things. So thank you for taking the time out to talk with me.
Thank you so much.
Oh, man, pleasure's mine. A couple of announcements for those that are tuning in. Right now, today, on this Monday that we're airing this, there is a South African wine dinner taking place at Bravo. So me and Joe got together just to chat a little bit, and so you guys could hear about what he's got going on. We'll give you more updates going further. If you have any questions, please drop them into the chat box or the comments, and we'll be sure to reach out to you as we move forward on this thing. And then also check in with us periodically on Instagram and on Facebook for any updates, or go to bravobuzz.com, hit the events tab, and see what we have going on. So let's just get into it, man. The first thing, I guess the most immediate thing, because not only have you been doing amazing things, you're doing a very big thing right now. Bar Muse is popping right now in Oxford Square, right?
Yeah, man, it's been going really well. It's like I said, it's almost been an embarrassment of riches. And like the community reception, just like what we set out to accomplish, in a 1 to 3 year span, man. We're already shooting past projections and everything. It's been a blessing.
Look, there's a lot of people that try to like start and open bars and restaurants. I mean, you've seen it 100 times over, right? The guy who's like a real estate person or a banker, and they got some money and they want to start their own bar restaurant, don't have a lot of experience, and you get to see it open up, and then you see it, disappear in a year or two. You have much experience doing this. You got a great partner in Ross. How many years, like how long have y'all been conjuring up what Bar Muse is going to be?
Man, it kind of all happened. It kind of all happened at once. We were asked by Bradley and Lindsay, who own Space, and tell me what you think and if this space makes sense. And we went and looked at it, and I was like, man, it's 264 square feet, so it's tiny. It's
Small.
it's like a studio apartment almost. And we're like, we can definitely make this work. And at this time, Ross and I had been at St. Leo for 5 years. We were an opening team. He was a server at the time, and I was a beverage director. And it was time for a change. And we kind of knew what we wanted, just because, we both go to a lot of bars and restaurants and sit at the bar, and we knew like what we were looking for and like the feel that we wanted the place to have. We wanted to feel like a neighborhood bar, but also have like elevated, right? Where people can come in jeans and a t-shirt, but if you want to wear a nice button down, we'll treat you the same exact way and have some really good offerings with wine and cocktails. We want to be a stop that's either before dinner, after dinner, if you're waiting for a table, just because how Oxford works, there's not a lot of places to wait because of how the buildings are. So like come there, got a couple of cocktails, go have dinner, come back and see us. We want to make it like really friendly and open for everyone to come and enjoy themselves.
Yeah, and I've been on the square once or twice, man. It is it's incredibly congested with bars, right?
Yeah.
But in a very, very beautiful and well thought out and well put together way. The only place I've ever seen it look something like that is like in Charlottesville, Virginia, where, fun fact, is the place with the most restaurants per capita in the United States, in Charlottesville, Virginia. Wow. So, you go to Oxford, the square, it looks a little bit like that, right? You got like bars right next to bars and then art gallery, bars right next to bars and then boutique shop. Like it's all like right there together. And that's pretty much the heartbeat of the town outside of the university. So I think that what you're doing there is really cool, unique, and niche. And you're an artist. And that's what makes what you do fit right in line with what's going on in the square. We're really proud of what you're doing, because this is also the first Black-owned bar that Oxford has seen, period. Am I right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So look, the town's been established since 19th century, whatever. There's been not one Black person that had a business on the square.
There've been Black people who've had businesses, but they've come and go, as with anything else, gentrification and rent going up and just pricing people out, right? As you see this everywhere, where you have these places that were Black owned at a certain point in time that were cheaper. So if someone owned the building, why not just price them out? Because you can charge more rent and get someone else in there that you want and get your friends in there, things like that. And you see it. So the old St. Leo building was actually a good example of that. It's actually Bowles Alley, which is Wiley Bowles, who was this a Black shoe shop owner, and in the building the front end was a diner, the middle was a hair salon, and the back was a shoe shining place. So they had 3 Black-owned businesses in 1,900 square feet, just because they all could chip in and pay rent, as a group. And this was up until like the 70s and 80s, when the university starts kicking off, football's starting to catch on, and people starting to move here. And now rent goes up higher, and places like that get kicked off the square because they're not providing, any kind of, for some people, a dutiful service. And so those restaurants start going in there and things like that.
Wow. That is, so you have a lot of knowledge in history. So I've been reading up on you a little bit. First off, I've been watching you since 2018 when I first moved to Mississippi, and I was here, and I'm going to talk more about it. But then I saw the Black History cocktail list. So, and that's when I was like, "Who's this Joe dude? I need to get to Oxford." But at the time, I really had no idea what Oxford was really about. All I knew was Ole Miss. And then, of course, everything that we know about Ole Miss, when you're not from Mississippi, you're like, I'm not going there. But I knew you were there, and I was like, I got to get up with this dude and see what's really going on there. And then I started meeting people from Oxford, yada, yada, yada. The story goes on. But you're an artist, but you have a lot of history in you. And I think a lot of the work that you do ties to history, and it adds a level of integrity, right? Think about this cocktail list curation. Bartenders, bar managers, they'll say, okay, we got to change the seasonal cocktail list. How many times do you think a bartender goes in the office, Googles seasonal fruit, and finds 4 or 5 fruits and says, I'm going to make cocktails that taste like this? And then they call their reps and say, hey, do you have any kumquat liqueur? And send it my way. And then they just add some sour mix and some vodka, and boom, and they give it a funky name. Yours goes layers deeper than that. And I mean, even to the sourcing of the ingredients, the type of ingredients that you choose. Where's that intuitiveness come from for you?
I like, for me, it's just, I think to have longevity in this industry, you have to be genuinely curious about things. And I love to be genuinely curious about ingredients and flavors, and I like to try to challenge myself, right? I think that's a big part of what we do, is because I can rest on my laurels and do cocktails that I know are going to sell, but I want to challenge the guest experience as well. I want the guests to be more informed on what they drink and put in their bodies. So locally sourced ingredients, making sure the ingredients are respectfully used as people who 1,000 years would have used ingredients, whether they're Black, Native American, Hispanic, whatever. I try to respect these ingredients because these ingredients are important at some point for someone, I think what kind of gets lost is the reverence of some of these things that people actually worshipped and loved and brought over from the slave trade here that grew here because it's something that they could carry in their hands, So why not respect it and show some love and care that's truly meaningful to people?
Yeah, you do much work that is meaningful to people. And all right, so I talked to you about this, right? I got an outline to this whole thing, but I keep coming back to it because, and I'm kind of jumping back to the end of where we were going to go with this talk, but that list that you wrote, the titles of some of those cocktails. First things first, if anybody listens to Nina Simone and has heard Blood on the Leaves, right? And for me, the first time I heard it was actually the Kanye West sample. That was the first time I heard the song or that sample and that sound. I was like, this is dope. Then you read the credits, you go back, research Nina Simone. They did all the press on her on Netflix and all these things. So I learned about her. And then I heard the original. And brother, it's tear jerking. And now just to hear the phrase or read the phrase blood on the leaves, it evokes emotion straight like that, just off the top. And you put that on a list. I know how it made me feel, but I felt instantly proud, right? Because I knew a little bit of the history and a lot of the other names on the list. What about everybody else though? There had to be some other Black folks in Oxford, maybe, and there's a lot of educated Black folks in Oxford because of the university. How many of them were like, yo, this is awesome? Or was it the adverse because it is still Mississippi?
Yeah, I mean, so it's one thing that's, it's funny you brought that up because, when I did the menu, one thing I probably should have done was put more context with it. But for me, I was like, well, I didn't get any tools on how to navigate being Black in America. So the guest should be kind of, I don't say uninformed, but ill-equipped to handle some of the issues that are going to come up when these drinks are served,
Sure, they can be jarred like you're jarred on a regular basis, right?
Yeah, And I wanted people to be like, wait a minute, to ask questions about the drinks and learn more about, wait a minute, why do I feel uncomfortable with these names? What makes me feel this way, And so I chose those names perfectly so people are like, wait a minute, let me look up to what this is about because I don't know. I want to learn more about this. A good friend of mine always says that at this point in time, it's not on Black people to educate white people on Black suffering. There are enough literature, media, and you have enough friends to tell you, no, this is what really goes on in America. So it's not our job now to be like, wait a minute, let me show you what. Like, we can't coddle you anymore at this point. You gotta seek it out for yourself if you truly want to know it. And so when I did the menu, I wanted people to actually start seeking it out and trying to find out how this stuff works and what goes on. One of the drinks is also Black Wall Street. My mom's from Oklahoma. And so when people saw Black Wall Street, like, oh, wait a minute, you're not talking about the prosperous versions of, when Jackson and North Carolina, stuff like that. I was like, no, when the government firebombed the black-owned town because they were making more money than a white town was. You know, and I think that's a part of American history as much as it is part of Black history. People tend to forget that.
Yeah, well, Black history is American history, and because let's be clear, when we talk about Black history or Black people, oftentimes we understand that all people that are Black descend from Africa and the melanin content, all these things. But when we talk about Black people, we're really talking about Black Americans. So we have to talk about Black history. We are talking about American history, and it's a part of it. It shouldn't be whitewashed. Your friend is very right. It shouldn't be the responsibility of Black people to educate white people on the struggle. However, relating back to hospitality and restaurants, which is what we do, a guy told me one time we were working this Italian restaurant, we were opening up. He says, man, the guest doesn't want to read when they come in. They don't care what the menu says. They don't care. They look at keywords, buzzwords, just like everybody does now on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. They look at keywords, buzzwords, and they go, that's what I want. And then it's your job to tell them what they want from that point. And so we could tell you about the Black struggle, or we say there is a Black struggle. And then people will start to derive what they imagine it to be or what they want it to be and what's comfortable for them. Mm-hmm. And that's how they'll interpret it. And then once you give them the information and knowledge, that's where it's up to us to be educators and to kind of school them on things. And it takes a responsible person to do that, right? There can be the angry person that's like, no, listen, look what you did to us. And then there's a person, well, look, hey, let's analyze history. Let's bring what you understand and what I know to be, and let's bridge the context together to make this sound, more for you. It's an uphill battle. It's a never-ending battle, like much what we do in beverage. And I don't want to move it too far to that, but it is the last episode of Black History Month. And so I think it's very necessary that we have these conversations and that people get to see and hear these conversations. So I think that what you did really did push the bar. And I know we talked about, I'm not dropping any spoilers, but I know you talked about add more context to it. And I think it's very necessary because people need to know that. I mean, that list in itself is a history lesson. I reviewed it last night before we got on today. I just looked over it again, and I've totally forgot about the Black Wall Street cocktail because I remember reading. I was like, that would be my drink if I can get up there because the wine flowed on it and the whiskey. I was like, that's going to be my drink. And then I was like, that's a history lesson. And if you Google all the rest of the names, like you were saying, people learn. They educate themselves. So why wouldn't you want to do that over a cocktail? But then again, race, religion, and politics don't belong in a bar. That's what we say, right?
Yeah, but it's funny because that's who we are. Race, religion, politics, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, until everyone's willing to have that uncomfortable conversation with it, it's never going to go away, right? Because you can't hide it. It's always going to be the elephant in the room. You have to, at some point, you have to acknowledge it, right? If somebody's knocking at your door, you can't be like, oh, it'll be okay, it's going away. It's been knocking for 400 years now, bro. You might well just let them in. We'll talk about it.
Gonna keep knocking. Don't go away. Look, I mean, hell, ancient stuff. I mean, look, you go back to we're finding evidence of things in a BC time, right? It doesn't ever go away. We must understand it. And the further we go along, we think we have a better understanding and things are further revealed as we keep moving. You're right. It is a conversation that should be continued. And we will continue it and we'll continue over and over and over again. But look, let's talk about it just a little bit. So you just told me about the concept of Bar Muse, the before and after dinner bar, or just a hangout bar where we're going to just be here for the evening and maybe a little date night, a little nightcap. You ran a couple of other places in Oxford as well. Now, all of your hospitality experience or your career has been in Oxford. Am I right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's been in
you
Oxford.
You made a career out of Oxford.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy because I mean, it's a career that's really worth it, and it's a prominence, right? Let's talk about just a couple of accolades. All right. So let's talk about the ones that I am most impressed with are the residencies at French Laundry and Blackberry Farms. Oh. I am thoroughly impressed with those because as an academic, and people in our business, we try to shoot for those positions, even if just to walk in the door. I've always said that if I could be in a room working a dinner with Andy Shadow, I would be a happy person. Like I can say this sets up my career right here. Cause I mean, what's it like? I don't remember how many SKUs on that list, but it's like 30,000 or some crazy number.
They have 150,000 bottles of wine.
Jesus. I remember looking at it. I was like, that's so overwhelming and daunting. I just want to see how he does it. It's like wanting to watch, the greatest ball player go play. Let's see how he's rocking this thing, right? I don't necessarily want to be there for inventory, but I'll be
Ooh,
there.
man.
I'll be there. You got a whole staff for that. But then there's the residencies there. There was the Smith Fellowship, which I think is awesome, and that pretty much came partly because you're in Oxford. That's a proximity thing, am I right? Obviously, you earned it. But who else gets a Smith Fellowship? Does anybody outside of Oxford get that?
Yeah. So they reach out to people all across the country for the Smith Fellowship.
Oh, I thought it was a Southern thing.
No, they and so in my
Oh,
cohort, it's Corsha Williams, who I think lives in New Jersey. There's Freeney, who lives in California. There was Sam Four, who I think now is in Boston, but she was in Louisville, and then there was me, who's in Oxford. Yeah, they reach out to all people across the country for it.
wow, that's major, fam. I thought it was because it was Southern Foodways Alliance. It was only for us in the South, and you were the man in the South at the time because we kind of play big fish in small pond in our few states down here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it reaches everywhere, and and also part of it. It says Southern Foodways, but they really now reach more of a like I won't say a worldwide audience almost. Just because, as we all know, the South is the birthplace for American cultures and idea and American food, and
Yep.
everyone has roots back to the South. I don't care where you try to look; everybody has roots back to the South, and they always run deep.
Always, always.
Always run deep.
Joe, every time I talk to you, man, I feel like I am impressed more and more with you. You were the you were the beverage man or general manager at the Currents restaurants.
Oh no, so I worked. I never worked for a Currents restaurant. I worked for Emily Blunt, who was a sole proprietor.
Okay,
Yeah,
a sole proprietor of which restaurant?
St. Leo. Mm-hmm.
St. Leo. I remember I came to St. Leo looking for you one time. You weren't there. My boy Wes came with me and a couple other friends, and he was like, "Nah, he's not here. We just ordered a pizza and we left." It was a good pizza, and the cocktail was okay. I think the cocktail would have been better if you were there, man. I missed you, Joe. All right. What else am I missing, man? What else you got going on? What else have you done? What other accomplishments or accolades have I missed?
So in 2019, we're nominated for James Beard Award for Outstanding Beverage Program for St. Leo. In 2017, we're also nominated for Best New Restaurant. Yeah, I don't know. I've worked the fellowship was, the Sandbell Fellowship was actually a really cool experience. That really was like a once in a lifetime thing just to be able to experience that. It's funny because once I did that, I was like, man, I got to learn more about wine because I was just like, oh boy, this is like, talk about like going in with like being a guppy in an ocean of just like, what, huh?
So are you more now? I feel like you're more cocktail and spirits based, but I mean, you got some wine knowledge too, though, yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Like don't get me wrong. I love. So now as I get older, I don't make a lot of cocktails at home anymore. That's just more of like what I do at work, and then when I come home, my girlfriend I drink wine because it's easy, it's fun, and it's something always different. You can get a bottle for $20, 2 glasses for both of us. We're happy. We're at the house hanging out.
Boom, boom, just straight like that. Yeah, I think. Well, for me, it happened with wine because that was what the concept of the restaurant was that I was in. It was really more about the wine than the cocktails. They always go hand in hand, but one of them is always on top than the other. Very seldom do they go together. It was more about wine for me, but also I felt like I had done at that point in where I'd been in restaurants for I don't know, 15 years, 14, 15 years at the time. And I had done everything in a restaurant. I'd been from, dishwasher, busser, working the kitchen line, the whole front of house, everything in the front. I was now acting GM. So it wasn't nothing I couldn't do in a restaurant. And I started to feel like, what's next? And I'll be honest, what you're doing as an owner is 1,000% commendable and admirable, but I never wanted to own a restaurant. I saw the stresses of owners, man, and I was like, I can't do this. So every owner that I knew, and I did a lot of time in corporate restaurants too. So maybe this has a lot to do with it. But every restaurant owner that I knew, especially corporate restaurant owners, they were always like, "Oh yeah, my first wife, my second wife." And I was like, I don't want that many wives or ex-wives. I just didn't want it.
Right?
I just felt like it was just more complicated that way. So I never wanted to own, but I was really trying to find what's the next move for me. I've done everything in a restaurant. How do I progress in this career? What's the next move? And representation matters, right? So I saw the movie Psalm. You've seen this movie, yes?
Yeah, uh-huh.
the original, right? And then I saw our brother D Lynn, and I was like, wait, we're doing this too? Like it was that was for me to be as old as I was at that time. It was strange that it was unfathomable to me that we were not in somewhere. Like it didn't make sense to me that we were there, but it also didn't make sense to me that we weren't there. And it was the first time I saw it. And so I was like, all right, let me see what this is about. And I started reading, like you say, I started buying books. I started sending out very ambitious emails and finding, people were responding back to me. And they had no reason to respond back to me. Like you write an email or a letter to somebody and they're like, oh, yeah, what's going on? Let's talk. Here's my number. It's like, wait, what? You give me a number? Yeah. So I can call you and ask you questions? All right, cool. And then you learn that that's the fabric of what we do. So that was just like, off the beaten path a little bit. So I'm not originally from Mississippi. Are you?
No, my dad was in the Air Force. I was actually born in Germany. Then we moved to London, and then from London we moved back to the United States. He helped train fighter pilots on flight simulation software, and so we moved around every 6 months to a year to different places.
So he trained like the drone fighters,
kind of, but more on like every system needs an every computer system needs an update. So he'd be there kind of almost like IT-ish.
Okay.
So yeah, he'd be there to kind of like update things and like like virtual mechanic stuff like that. He would help train people on that type of stuff.
Right on. Were you supposed to go to the military?
Man, you know what? My dad was pretty cool about, like, he said he joined because he was like, man, my grandfather served, so he served. He was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I just went to the military. So my little brother's actually in the Marine OCS right now. He's actually going to be a Marine officer coming in the next month. Yeah.
Right on. Congrats to him. I was supposed to go in the military. So my mom and dad were both Air Force, hence I ended up in Alaska. And then, we came back down south and then we're done with the military. I was supposed to go to the military. Both of my parents military, like grandparents, everybody was in the military. It was all you served the Lord and you served your country. That's what it was in my family, and my wife's family as well. So it's really, those roots run really deep for me. And then I got in my senior year of high school, and every senior, I feel like maybe it's just me, kind of does this like rebel thing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a rapper. So I want to do music. But then also I was like, man, I got to do something after I turn 18 and get out the house. What's going to foot the bill? And so I was like, I will go to the military. And I was going to do Marines. So I didn't want to do Air Force. I'm rebelling. So I was going to do Marines. I did like Marine conditioning 2 days. And let me tell you how it wore me out. I was like, I'm not cut out for this. So then I started bartending and waiting tables and to pay for studio time. And here we are like 20 some odd years later, just doing the things.
Yeah, man. It's funny how it works, man. How like that bug bites you. You're like, actually, I like this more than what Mark's career is going to be.
Yeah. Well, look, my dad did that thing in college. He bartended a little bit, just to kind of like put things together. And he used to tell me, he's like, you can make good money behind a bar and work in restaurants. You can make good money. And I was like, yeah, okay. And then I started making good money. I was like, oh, you can. And there's another thing. I saw my friends when I was in college, before I dropped out, when I was in college, my friends that were older, had already graduated, right? They would have apartments next to me, and they would be talking about how much money they make at the jobs that they had within their degrees. And then I'd be like counting what I made in tips tonight. Like, you made how much? And then I made this much right now.
Yeah, right.
Like, I'm 20, you're 26, you got your degree. I'm already doing it. And this is a career that I can continue at. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna stick around right here. It's really important that people know that in our industry, this is an industry where it's not necessarily a need for a college degree. It's really a lot based on work ethic, which is what a lot of people have nowadays. They got the hustle and they got the grind, they got the work ethic, and you can learn on the job, right?
Yeah.
How many like kitchen guys would you hire and train to do the job in your kitchen or in your bar or wherever, versus them going to culinary school and paying to learn to do the same thing that you would pay them to learn?
Yep, exactly. That's true.
And it's the most active internship, or it's not even an internship. It's like this great apprenticeship that people can really get.
And what's cool about it, as well, you're able to, there's depending on what you want to learn, there's infinite upper mobility, right? Like that restaurant may not be, you may hit yourself on that one restaurant, but you go down the street, find a restaurant. Oh, you a beverage director? Here you go, man. You got the credentials to do it. So there's always mobility in this industry. as long as you're willing to put in the work and the time and the education on your end, there's always upward mobility in this industry.
You got to do what you did, man. You got to buy some books. You got to learn. You got to be willing to do the job and develop your competency to be the best at what you do. You do some consulting too, right?
Yeah.
And see, there's another facet of our business and when we get into this, right? Like everybody talks about multiple revenue streams and side hustles. It's a big one right there because how many people are trying to open up restaurants and they need your expertise? And you've worked all the years that you worked in it to develop the expertise. I saw a post from my friend Peter Plain in Texas. He was saying, the post read, it said, you're not paying me for my time because it was only 30 minutes. You're paying me for the 10 years that I worked to be able to do this job in 30 minutes.
Yep.
It's the value of what we're doing that really resonates with people and creates those experiences for folks. So look, the hospitality industry, that's why you stayed in Mississippi, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you think you were going to stay in Mississippi coming up? What was your, obviously not Mississippi, but what was your plan? Like you were coming up, when I grow up, what do I want to be? What would you want to be?
Man, I wanted to be a doctor or a scientist. Like I love science. Like I've always been curious about like just chemistry and how it works. And so science would definitely have been it. Just something in the thing, a chemist or some kind of scientist, man. I love science. I've always been fascinated by it because it's I don't know. It's so cool how you're able to explain the world through like numbers and like real concrete stuff, and just it's always been fascinating.
I was so bad at science in school. So bad. I was so bad. So I'm happy you're good at it.
Dude, that's the bad part. Like I love chemistry, but I am terrible at math.
Oh yeah,
it's just applied mathematics.
I'm better at math now, and it's probably because I spend so much time in the restaurants where you got to count dollars, percentages, all these kind of things, costing. Like I'm better at math now. I didn't think I was that good in school. I passed, but I know now I like do work in the restaurant, and I'm like, thankfully I developed a routine for this. And people like the staff comes is like, man, can you help me figure this out? Man, you're so good at this. I'm like, thanks.
Also, it's money, and I don't want to mess up my money or anyone else's money. So you
buddy, don't mess up the church's money. You
can burn one time on that, and it's like, hey, yo, your drawer's short $50. Well, what do? You owe me $50. You like, I won't do that again.
Yeah, you're managing the finances here, and this is mismanagement of finances. That's how it works out. Look, we talked about the stigma of Oxford, Mississippi, right? James Meredith, Ole Miss. The history of things, and Oxford isn't really the Delta, but it's northern Mississippi, right? So think about that. Do you find any evidence of that stigma in Oxford, even while you're doing so many good things in Oxford?
Oh yeah, like I like to say that Oxford, for all of its virtues, has a lot of vices as well. I say this town is a conservative town with a liberal problem. Just because, I mean, it's like any other, small town in Mississippi or small town in the South where we have a university that provides a lot of avenues and pathways to learn about other cultures and ideas, but not everyone wants to take those avenues and pathways. If you go 15 miles outside of Oxford, you're like, man, I am like in like deep red country, And I mean, and it's funny because like that about any major oasis that you see that has a lot of thoughts and ideas. Even in Detroit, you go 15 minutes outside Detroit, you're like, damn, why are there so many Confederate flags up this high north? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. Like, and I got fam. I'm in Detroit a lot. I never knew that outside.
Oh yeah, man. Like same with upstate New York. You're upstate New York. You're like, man, this is like real. Man, what happened here?
Wow.
And it's just part of like where you have a concentration of ideas and thoughts. And I like Oxford because it's a really good hub for the transference of ideas and thoughts. And people coming in and out. My friend Bruce calls this town a Phoenix town because every 4 years people leave and it's reborn again with new people and new ideas. And that's kind of why I love it because it's always ever changing and evolving.
Well, then in that sense, you've really seen it flip out, and that's a really good way of looking at it because from the outside looking in, we get that national view of what it is and the historic view of what's really there, and you don't necessarily know it, right? You see people on a screen and not necessarily from across the street where you literally are seeing people, especially nowadays. I made that case when I spent some time in Greenwood last year in fall, and we were doing the boutique wine shop across from the Alluvion. I don't talk about it much because it was a short-lived venture, but they're doing amazing things for Greenwood, a place which actually is pretty rich in culture and history. I mean, very rich in culture and history. Just maybe not necessarily kind to others and other groups based on the history. But we were doing some things there, and the stigma of the town was really, really hard to let go. Not necessarily for me, because I was there thinking and attempting to do a very good and strong thing. So I kind of pushed that out, and I was able to look at it from an objective view. But for the people in the town, and that's why I asked, are you seeing it when you're there? Because when I was in Greenwood for a place like that, it was hard for the people in Greenwood to let go of their own history, to say that let's advance. And you would think that the people there would have more pride to say, let's move the needle forward. But it would have to take somebody from the outside in because they have a bigger view, a bigger picture of it, right?
Yeah.
I say this thing, if I'm looking at a painting and I put my nose on the painting, I can only see what's in this little space. But if I stand back and look at the whole painting, I got a bird's eye view, and I can really accomplish and execute better. That's and you're not from Oxford, and I think that, do you think that that helps with you being able to come in and do some amazing things? Or do you think you would be able to accomplish what you do and have the mindset to it if you were from Oxford?
No, I don't think so. Not at all. Because, like I said, people do focus on, like, I'm from a small town, so all I see is, like looking through the binoculars, right? And that was one thing about working at St. Leo was Emily was not from Mississippi as well. So whenever we talk about these things, it's like, wait a minute, why are we still pulling Miami by the glass? It's 2016, bro. What the fuck is this? You know what I'm saying? And so part of it is education and bringing people forward, and it's a lot, right? It's an everyday battle. Even with wines, where people are like, you guys don't do Kendall Jackson? It's like, no, there are so many other Chardonnays in that shit, And so that's just part of like the small mind. Like, why would I drink something from California when I can get this, why would I get a Chardonnay from Chile when I can get one from California that's buttery and oaky that I'm looking for, And it's just part of education that takes a lot. And it's good to see from, like I said, outside looking in, because when I look at what I like when I'm creating something, I create it for the guests that I see, but I always have an eye on what goes on in the country and in the world. I want to make sure that I'm reading books that are current, that goes on. I want to make sure that I'm on the cutting edge in this little town to give people the best experience they can have. So I'm always looking at menus from all over the country, all over the world. Like, what's going on? Like, what's popular? What's happening? It's just so I can provide the best experience for someone that comes into bar music as possible. And also, like, I talk to my business partner says all the time. He's like, man, I want to be the best in Oxford. I'm like, man, honestly, that's not even a goal anymore. And he's like, why? And I was like,
because you did it. It's because you already did it, Joe.
Yeah. My goals are bigger than just being the best here. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's not, my goals are being I want to go toe to toe with these people across the country and the world. I want to be one of those. I'm like, this town, I'm here and I love what I do for Oxford and the community, but my goals and aspirations are bigger for like cocktail stuff and wine and beverage. Like, I want to go toe to toe with the giants. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, if you're not shooting for the stars, what are you shooting for?
Right.
Like, I don't get that. Like, you got to shoot to be great, because what's the point of just playing to the level? That just keeps you where you are. There's no growth in that. Remember, moving up or moving out. What are we doing sitting still? Man, there was something else I want to unpack in there, but it's another rabbit hole. Look, a lot of us look at other larger markets in our industry and we're like, oh man, when I get to New York, speaking of shooting to the stars, I want to, go to San Francisco, Chicago, the big places. Is there anywhere else that you would rather be?
Probably Chicago or Atlanta. I just love the food scenes there, the food and drink scenes, the culture, all of it, man. But going back to what we talked about, like big cities, what's funny is because being in Mississippi, one thing you can do is, if you want to put in the work, you can be a trailblazer. You can be the first of your kind to do it.
Yeah.
And like you could go to New York and do this, but now it's 10,000 bartenders vying just to be the best in that one little neighborhood, And like, if you think you can do it, by all means do it. But why not spread your rings and spread your influence here and have the entire state like, no, go here for this. You know what I'm saying? Too many people like, yo, go to Oxford, have these drinks at this little bitty bar and like conquer here, then go somewhere else and let your influence spread. Instead of like trying to beat out 15,000 people for one job. And like, that's just, that hustle and bustle, man, just will eat you alive and kill you, dude. That's just too much, like, just that strain and pressure. Woo.
It actually can. Look, I think we have a really unique opportunity to make a big old impact down here. And I would say, because there are not a lot of people like us doing it, but there actually are more than a handful of us doing it. And I think that it just takes somebody to step out, or some people to step out and say, hey, we're going to make a difference with what we're doing. Because just like you're talking about in the larger markets, yeah, it's heavy competition. And down here, it's not, it feels like there's not a lot of competition, because I think people are playing to the level and they're playing to dormancy. And that's where it takes movers, shakers, trailblazers like you, Tarek, and other people that we talked about this month, especially Black History Month, for all the brothers that have been on there. Speaking of which, for those that may be just locking in, this is Monday Meditation with Wine. I'm Chuck Nix, the bearded wino. We're talking to Joe Stinchcomb about how amazing he is and what he's doing in Oxford. And I keep giving you props and I keep giving you praise, because you are truly an impressive individual, man. And I think that you're a definite inspiration to hospitality professionals in general, but also more especially to Black hospitality professionals, because a lot of us don't see us doing it to this level. They see a lot of us just doing it, and we're just there in space, and it's just like another job. What you're doing is you're turning it into and letting people know there's a true profession to it, and you're doing it with so much class and so much prestige. And again, we're super proud of what you're doing. Look, I have this philosophy to my professional efforts that if I'm not helping people, then I'm not doing the right things. That's just my own personal thing that I add to everything that I do professionally. And that helps me with some community outreach things. Do you have any professional agenda or personal agendas outside of just running a successful business?
Yeah, I actually am going to start a nonprofit here in the next couple of months called Equitable Entrepreneurship, and it's to get people of color and Black-owned businesses in Lafayette County and Oxford, angel donors, education, tools, things to set up small businesses here in Oxford and Lafayette County.
Very cool.
And,
very, very cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No,
it's going to be done through hospitality. So we'll have, like, sit down dinners with, donors and small business owners who need help with their business, right? And for me, the more small businesses, the more communal this Oxford is in Lafayette County is, the better off everyone is. The more diverse business we have, business owners, the more money that flows, right? Because let's face it, no matter what happens, all in the day is how much money is coming in, how much money is coming out, right? If a Black dude buys something from me or a white dude, man, as long as they pay, we are good. You know what I'm saying? And like, if you own a business, you don't. To me, it's like, how to be a racist business owner? You losing money. That's like business 101. Like, you may not like that person, but shoot, they spending money, man.
They're not in it for business. They're not in it for business anyway. They're in it for the boys club.
Exactly, man.
No, that's king right there. So equitable economics. Say the name again.
Yeah, equitable entrepreneurship.
Equitable entrepreneurship. That's huge. When I was in Greenwood, we had some really big talks with some friends and some people that me and you both know. And one thing that we said is key to bridging the gap with a lot of the racist things that are happening is we got to start talking about economic access.
Yep.
There are a lot of Black folks, there are a lot of minorities that don't have access economically to the tools and resources to make them successful. There's a lot of education. There's not maybe a lot, but there's a need for it, which is what Southern Song Collective for my nonprofit is about, education. But there's a need for education. And then there's a need for economic access. And then there's a need for understanding from the community around, which is why you do these community initiatives. That's a major key right there, man. I feel like, Joe, that's going to grow bigger than just Lafayette County.
And that's the plan, is like to get it here and then take this model and be able to do it in Greenwood and Greenville and Jackson and like grow it. So then the whole state now understands, like, has more Black people have more access to education and economic resources, right? Like I said, that's the biggest thing, is resource allotment, because these places where you see a lot of affluent business owners, because they know the knowledge to give it to their friends, and now all they have is this knowledge there, right? There's no more access to it. And the more access to the knowledge, then the better off everyone is in the community.
Oh man, I'm proud of that, and I want to know more. And I would really love to know how I can get involved with that to help you with that effort. And I really want the Song Collective to work with equitable entrepreneurship, and we really start pulling things together, man. This is what it's really about. Look, for people paying attention, what we're doing here on Monday Meditations is we are highlighting hospitality, culinary, and beverage professionals, primarily in the South, but we're not just leaving it just to the South, but that's just where we are, and that's our local uniqueness. And we want you all to understand that the purpose of these is to let you know that there's more out there than just meets the eye. It's not just the restaurants we work at or the businesses that we run, but it's also the community outreach that we're participating in, and that we're doing it for the people as people. So thank you for watching. But look, we got more stuff to talk about, because I got to ask you some things that I got to know about you. I got to know these things about everybody, because it tells me who you are. So tell me, friend, if you could share a drink, a bottle of wine, anything with any person, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh man. I will probably share chartreuse with my grandpa. He passed away right before we opened St. Leo in 2016, and his name is Joseph Stinchcomb. I'm named after him, and he was a person that instilled, hardworking values and like what it means to just like to sacrifice for your community and sacrifice for the greater good. He was one of the first Black Marines in World War II in Marine history.
Wow.
He fought for this country when this country didn't love him. He went to town hall meetings and talked for single parents every single week from 1970 until like the 1990s, man, for 20 years, to say, no, I vote no on this because these Black mothers need these houses and things like that. He was a pillar in the community. And so I would love to share, I would love for him to see the work that I've done in the 5 years, I think he'd be proud of me. So I want to share with him.
Man, that's big, man. And that's beautiful, man. I think a lot of us have, certainly military kids, have some Black grandfathers who fought for a country that didn't love them. I know my granddad's got some stories. Man, that's beautiful, man. And rest in peace to granddad. We're proud of him. Let's see. If you what grape variety, style of wine, or cocktail or spirit best describes Joe?
Oh man, that is.
Yeah, no.
Truthfully, this is what probably describes me best. A glass of Spy Valley Sauvignon Blanc and a shot of Fernet.
And a shot of Fernet.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you're gonna wreck your palate.
Dude, it's funny because that's like legit. Like if I go out, it's always a shot with whatever I have. It's like, oh, I have a cocktail and a shot. I have a beer and a shot. I'll have a shot and a shot. And like, and if I'm trying to wind down legit, I'll open up like Spy Valley Sauvignon Blanc, man, that crazy grapefruity, grapefruit bomb and a shot of Fernet. Just tip the wine, shot just to like ease attention, man. That's what I drink a lot of weird combinations like that.
That's dope, man. That's dope. And then of all of Amara's Fernet.
Yeah, man. I drink a lot of chartreuse as it is, but Fernet's just like my go-to. I can knock two of those back and be just completely fine, man.
Yeah, so I dig on some Fernet. I do dig on some Spy Valley Sauvignon Blanc. I sold that wine for a long time. We're gonna get together, man. I'm gonna get you some of this Bordeaux Blanc and put it in your life.
Okay, all right.
We see testing things up. All right, look. So kind of a little bit the same, but very different. Do you have a unicorn bottle or unicorn spirit that you would drink? If you could drink this one bottle of wine or spirit or cocktail, what would it be? And you'd die a happy person.
Man, I had it when I was at French Laundry. It was a 1974 Robert Mondavi. Mondavi? Is that how you say his name?
Mondavi.
Yeah, Mondavi. Cabernet Sauvignon, man. It was like this estate, like a state edition. Man, that was just beautiful, dude.
Huge. That's a huge bottle, and I don't mean just a huge, like big, bold bottle. We talk about Cabernet. Everybody knows Cabernet to be a big, full-bodied blackberry, black currant, sometimes eucalyptus, mint, savory herbs kind of wine. But back in the 70s, the way that Cabernet was being made was a little bit more acid-driven. So you really got some more length and more complexity of structure, and you really got to taste those fruits. And sometimes the fruit would be articulated a little bit tart, but then it would get ripe, and you had, I bet, some really good tertiary notes. That's an amazing bottle to drink, buddy. That's special right there.
Yeah, man, that bottle was like, it poured, and I was just like, oh, this is what this is what it's like, right? Yeah, that was a special bottle of wine, man.
It connects to generations, because if you were to pour a bottle of like Robert Mondavi Cab nowadays, obviously the business has been sold off, and then the fruit sourcing is very different now with new ownership and such. But you pour a bottle of Robert Mondavi now, and then a bottle of Robert Mondavi then, because the fruit sourcing from those Beckstoffer and Tokelon vineyards were so prominent and so key. I think that you really get to see history in that sense, right? This is where we came from, this is where we're going, and you get to see the evolution. And so for future winemakers that are new, taste something super old and then taste the same stuff when it's super new, and just get an idea of where you as a brand can go. And that's just for, winemakers that are young and up and coming. That's beautiful that you had a chance to taste that, man. That's special right there. All right, look, you got $20 to buy a bottle of wine, or you got $30 to buy a bottle of booze. What's it gonna be?
Ooh, man. Okay, $20 for a bottle of wine, man. Like I said, man, it's funny. Do I drink cheap? If I'm like for me, it's about like what's probably gonna be the Broadbent Vino Verde, because it's like I can get 2 bottles for $20.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Look, hey, homie, that is the bottle. Anytime I have family coming to visit, and they're like, "Yo, Chuck, you're the wine guy. Let me get some. What kind of wine do I need to drink? And don't want to drink no Moscato." I'm like, "Okay, cool, I got you. If you want to drink some dry, actually, it falls into the fine wine category because it has a sense of terroir, it's tied to history and tradition in winemaking. It's a classic bottle of wine. It comes from the Michael Broadbent portfolio, so it's already going to be good. That's a quality bottle of wine, man. All right, yeah, Joe, you are more than me. Yeah, it's not just cocktails and spirits with you.
Oh yeah, man.
Like, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, if I'm at the house, man, it's an easy bottle of wine to open. It's like $10-15, dude. That's perfect. If I drink a bottle of that, I'm like, oh, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'm straight.
We're gonna go. Look, I remember, I think we bought a whole case of that Broadbent Vino Verde. I had a cousin come to visit, and I think that every day it was like us outside with cigars and wine, like every day. And this was I think a little bit coming out of pandemic time, so it was a lot of time at home back then, a couple years ago, or a year or two ago. So that's beautiful. Have you had their rosé, the Vino Verde?
Yeah,
rosé?
I had that rosé. Rosé's pretty good. So rosé's a thing that like I'm hit or miss on rosés. Either like I have to like love it, or I don't really like it. Rosé is something that like I have to be in the mood for, man.
No,
what about you?
okay.
Are you a rosé guy?
I'm a big wine guy. I tell myself that I don't really. I do like rosé a lot. It's tough. I love sparkling rosé a lot.
Oh, okay.
Especially sparkling champagne. I love Italian rosés a lot and rosados a lot. But everywhere, because rosé is so versatile, I can't really say that I like rosé from a place, because from the same place there can be another style or type of rosé that's very different. I think one of the places that it really connects and stays the same and consistent is like Provence. I think that their style of rosé, because they kind of standardize what rosé should be for France and Southern France, theirs is very consistent. But I do love rosé. I was going to say, look, in April, I'm planning a big rosé event. We're going to put 10 rosés on the floor at Bravo, and we're going to have people come in and bounce around table to table, get some rosé samples, and you're going to taste rosés from France, South Africa, Australia, everywhere around the world. So it'll be, I don't know, we're going to call it Rosé Around the World, Rosé All Day, whatever. It's the day after Easter, and we'll do that at Bravo. Yeah, you got some time, man. Drop down. Let's take care of it. Let's let you be my guest, and what's up?
Yeah.
This is some rosé. So that'll be fun. I think we already answered this question earlier, but if you were not in the beverage hospitality industry, what would you be doing?
Oh yeah, definitely like some kind of scientist or chemist, something with chemistry.
Yeah. I figured you'd be the next Neil deGrasse Tyson. Did I say his name right?
His hair.
Huh?
I wish I had his hair. Shoot.
Nah, you don't want that hair. My brother needs a new barber. I got one for him.
Man, what?
Call him Mr. Glass. So look, hey, look, let me ask you this, man. How can people reach out to you? How can they find out what you got going on? What's going on with Joe Stinchcomb?
Man, Instagram. It's Bar Muse Oxford for the bar. Uncle Mom 31 for my personal Instagram. Yeah, man, you can. It's a public page, man. Follow, like, say hey, shoot me a DM.
Absolutely. All right, look, we're going to make sure that we put your contact info in the comments section when we post this up on Facebook. And look, we made time, so this will hit Instagram. We'll make sure we tag you there and people can reach out to you there. What does Uncle Mom 31 mean?
So Uncle Mom is what my nieces and nephews call me. When Micah and Maya were like in first and third grade, I used to do like a big moo-moo, like Mrs. Doubtfire, and pick them up from school just to embarrass them. And so Well, I was signing out Uncle Mom, and they were like, dude, please stop showing up to our school dressed like that. You were embarrassing us. And I'm like, no, but I love you. They're like, please stop it. We don't have any friends because of you. So Uncle Mom was just stuck.
That's great, man. That's funny. Hey, man, look, hats off to you, Joe. We got more to talk about. But for everybody else watching, thank y'all for checking us out. We appreciate y'all. Stay tuned to what we have going on at Bravo. Stay tuned to what's going on at Bar Muse in Oxford. Get around, come say hi, have a drink with us. And if you're going to drink with Joe, make sure you get a shot to go with whatever you're drinking, or else you're not doing it right. Hey, y'all, thank you so much for coming out. God bless you and peace.